Hey guys, Ryan here from Rode, and in this video, I'm going to be answering some of the questions that we've received about the RØDECaster Pro. We'll cover topics including the latest firmware upgrades, how to ensure your multi-track recording is completely glitch-free, and a few other topics. Check out the description below for details, including some timestamps if you just want to jump to a particular question. First of all, let's take a look at the multi-track recording function that was introduced in firmware version 1.1.0. This allows you to record each of the sources on the RØDECaster Pro as separate stems in your digital audio workstation software over USB. When you use this function, the multi-track audio outputs are sent to your digital audio workstation program pre-fader. This means that the recording will be of all of the sources going into the RØDECaster Pro at full level, regardless of the position of the fader or the status of the mute button. You can think of it as the multi-track outputs being connected directly to the inputs on the RØDECaster Pro. So for example, whatever the microphone picks up will be sent directly to the multi-track out, even if the fader is down. This means that your multi-track recording contains all of the audio from all of the audio sources while recording. So if someone in your podcast said something really good or funny, but you accidentally had their channel muted or their fader too low, you'll still have that audio properly recorded in the multi-track outputs. You can then use this multi-track recording to do a full offline mix of your podcast using your audio workstation software to balance levels, cut audio you don't need, and so on. Of course, the stereo mix of your podcast will always be the mix that you made live using the faders and mute buttons while recording the podcast. You might also be interested to know that the unity gain position on the RØDECaster Pro faders is the 5th mark from the top. If the fader is in this position, the audio recorded to the stereo mix will be at exactly the same level as the audio sent into the multi-track outputs. Now, you don't need to worry about this too much when mixing your podcast, because you just want to set the faders to get the balance that you need. But it can be useful to know in some situations, especially for more complex setups. While we're talking about the multi-track recording over USB, let me touch on another issue that a few people have raised. Sometimes you may find that your multi-track recording has glitches, perhaps clicks and pops, or maybe even sounding distorted or at the wrong playback speed. It's a problem that can happen with various computer and software combinations, but it seems to happen most often on Windows PCs with Adobe Audition software. Now, if this happens to your recording, don't worry, it's not a bug or an error. It can usually be fixed very easily. It happens because the computer is tripping up when processing data arriving over the USB input. With 14 channels of audio running at once, there's a lot of audio data flying around. The easy fix is to simply increase the audio buffer settings in the software. Our testing internally indicates that a buffer size of 1024 samples seems to cure the problem on pretty much all computer configurations, but you could experiment with even higher settings depending on the specs of your computer. You can generally find the buffer size settings in the advanced or audio sections of the preferences in your software. If you can't find it in your audio workstation software, drop a note in the comments below this video with what audio software you're using, including the version and the computer type, and we'll try to help you out. On the topic of computers and software, we've often been asked if the RØDECaster Pro could be made compatible with Windows 7. The RØDECaster Pro utilizes the latest USB audio Class 2 standard. This standard is unfortunately not supported by earlier versions of Windows. In fact, it was not fully supported in Windows 10 when it first launched, but it was added a little bit later. Because of this, the RØDECaster Pro on Windows is only compatible with Windows 10, and we recommend that you ensure that your version of Windows 10 is fully up to date to ensure that you have the latest implementation of the audio protocol. If you are using Windows 7 or 8, it's still possible to upgrade to Windows 10 for free, so that you can use your existing computer with the RØDECaster Pro. Another very simple question that a few people have asked us is around the power supply for the RØDECaster Pro and how to ensure that it's securely connected to the unit. The power supply comes with a locking ring to prevent it from accidentally being pulled out. To secure it, simply push the plug into the power socket, align the lock ring with the thread, and twist the lock ring clockwise to secure. Now, we do know that a small number of early RØDECaster Pro units was shipped with power supplies that didn't have a locking ring. It doesn't affect the operation or safety of the unit at all, but if you do happen to have one of those early power supplies and you'd like to get a replacement locking ring, then please drop us an email to service@rode.com and we'll be happy to ship you a replacement for free. Next, I'd like to talk about the sound pads on the RØDECaster Pro. If you updated the RØDECaster Pro to version 1.1.0, you may have noticed that some or all of the pads had their audio erased as part of the upgrade process. This was unfortunately a necessary part of the upgrade process, but if you were still using the sound effects that shipped with the RØDECaster Pro and you want a way to get those sounds back, then you can simply download the sound files for those effects, together with an additional 8 bonus sounds from the Blastwave Effects sound effects library. By logging into your account on the Rode website, you can access all of these sounds. Now, if you haven't already done so, then register your RØDECaster Pro on our website, which will also unlock the extended warranty for the product. Once you've registered the RØDECaster Pro, navigate to the My Microphone section of your user account on the website. You'll see your RØDECaster Pro listed, and there's a little blue download button to get the sound effects files. Now, while I'm talking about the sound pads on the RØDECaster Pro, a few people noticed some glitches or playback errors when using some more unusual file formats after upgrading to version 1.1.0, as well as a few other small things, like the Bluetooth screen that pops up unexpectedly. I'm glad to say that all of these little issues have been addressed in the new firmware version 1.1.2, which is available to download now from the Rode website. Version 1.1.2 doesn't unlock any new features on your RØDECaster Pro, but it does iron out a few of these small issues, so I definitely recommend that you download it and apply it to your RØDECaster Pro to get the best performance. Finally, I'd like to talk about MicroSD cards. As with all real-time recording devices, you need to ensure that you're using a high-quality MicroSD card in the RØDECaster Pro. If you're using an older or perhaps an unbranded card, the data read and write speed from that card may be compromised, which can cause recording errors. We recommend using high-speed cards from one of the major vendors to ensure trouble-free recording with your RØDECaster Pro. Thanks guys. If you've got any other questions, please hit us up in the comments below and we'll do our best to help. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of the latest from Rode microphones. Happy podcasting.